Okay,
Daryl,
yeah,
in new business, we can add in discussing the delegate fee as well.
okay, yep. Just waiting for 59 to turn into 2 zeros, and then we'll call the meeting to order. Okay, it's 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Sure, I apologize. I spilled my coffee right before I came on and my recorder has disappeared. So I'm glad Eileen has the record button going. I'll just have to retrieve it later. Rachel Anger is here. Cindy Bird.
Here.
Kathy Calhoun.
Here.
John Kalila.
Here.
Kenny Curley. Is Kenny on the call?
He is.
Oh, I see you, Kenny.
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
Yep.
Ken now. Pam Delabar.
Here.
Kathy Dunham.
Here.
George Eigenhauser.
Here.
Yukiko Hayata.
Here.
Carol Krasnowski.
Here.
Rich Maston.
Here.
Steve McCullough.
Here.
Melanie Morgan.
Here.
Brian Moser.
Here.
Pam Moser.
Here.
Daryl Newkirk.
Here.
Sharon Roy. Sharon on the call. Okay. Howard Webster.
I'm just promoting him now.
Okay. And so Eileen Tartaglia is on the call.
Here.
Is Shelley Perkins on the call?
Not yet. Oh, wait, she just came into the waiting room. Hold on. I'm promoting her now.
Okay, so I'll ask for Howard Webster. Are you on the call now?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. James Zimbro.
I'm here.
Gavin Cow.
Here.
Eva Chen. Not on the call. And Matthew Wong.
Oh, wait. Eva's
Hi.
here.
Here.
I just promoted Eva and Sharon as well. Sharon Roy.
Sharon, okay, Sharon's here. And Shelley Perkins, has she been promoted?
Yes.
Yes, she's in.
Yes.
I'm here.
Everyone is here then. Thank you very much. I will turn it back to you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. So everybody got the pre-printed agenda, and we have some additional items to add under the orders of the day. So we have order 2 and 3, which is an open session, and we have some orders to add. One is discuss the delegate fee. We have one for approval of the club/exhibitor survey that needs to be added. And George, you want to talk about the one you mentioned?
I'm just talking about the 3 that got sent to the board earlier today.
Okay.
I think Rachel sent them.
Yeah, she did. I think the second one can be an open session. I think the first one and the third one probably need to be in closed session. Is that what you wanted, Kenny?
Whatever you think, Daryl. They're going to have to be discussed anyway. And the way they've been worded, it looks as though we've protected any individuals that are would be included in the discussion.
Okay, Rachel, you have an opinion?
I think a closed session would be good with the right to move it to open session if we feel that the sensitive, names and contracts and things aren't discussed.
Okay. All right. So let's put the first one and the third one in closed session, and the CAT HR further in conjunction in open session. That okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So with those, are there any other additions or corrections to the orders of the day? No. Okay, is there any objection to the amended orders of the day? Okay, hearing no objection, the amended orders of the day are ratified. So we'll start with order number 2. Rachel, that's you.
Okay, you see there before you the motions that do not require ratification. And if we scroll down, there will be a few that do require ratification. This is a lot of discussion on this one, so keep scrolling, please. And there's our motion that requires ratification. This was the one about the 6x6 show in Texas that the executive committee approved while we were having our February board meeting. The show is already taken place, so this is kind of after the fact, but that is New York law.
That's right.
So I would like to move that we ratify the executive committee motion that was passed on February 6th.
Steve second.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, is there any discussion on this? Okay, hearing no discussion, is there any objection to the ratification of the executive committee's motion here? Hearing no objection by unanimous consent, it is approved.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right, thank you very much, Rachel. Let's go on to order number 3, which is the Constitution, which is by the Legal Advisory Committee. Cindy Bird, you're recognized.
I'm sure you all have seen our submission. The first piece on it is the Constitution, and we have broken it out into 7 different amendments. And each of those is explained, as you, I'm sure, have already seen. I color-coded each of the changes within the body of the Constitution so that it would be easy for people in our campaign to get this passed. It would be easy for people to see what each section is and how necessary it is. So there, where we see there, the pink text, that's a mandatory change. The next one is orange, and those are whole new sections that were put in because of requirements by New York law. And then we come to the non-mandatory ones that are blue and green and purple. And hopefully this will help people understand what each amendment is and encourage them to vote for them. The body of the Constitution itself is pretty much finished. Our eagle-eyed Carol found a few more things that needed to be changed, but they are simple wording things where it says member and it should say club member. We want it to say club member club. And there were a few places in the new language where the Constitution is referred to as the bylaws. And so I would switch that to Constitution, at least until we change the name to bylaws, if we do.
Okay,
So I'm asking of you in this first part to please approve our work on our Constitution amendment.
okay, and that's a motion.
Rachel second.
Thank you very much, Rich. So let's open it up for discussion. If anybody's got any comments on any of these, Cindy's done a great job along with the members of the Legal Advisory Committee. And I want to give some kudos to Mary Oth because she got this going. And Cindy picked up the baton and carried on with it. So these are the stuff that we have to change in order to comply with New York law, not-for-profit corporate law. So Pam Delabar, your hand's up.
I just wanted to add that I had several back and forth emails with Cindy on getting the explanations of what was moved where, how, and why certain things were showing up. I think that this was a phenomenal job.
Yep.
And I am all ready to go out to my area and make sure that that they are all in support of this constitution and effort.
Great. Thank you, Pam. Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just have some questions. I don't know if hope I'm doing this right. On Article 4, under delegates, Section 4-5.
Yes.
Okay, it's saying, no person acting as a delegate and or proxy shall cast more than 2 votes. Okay, I know that when I was working with this, with Mary, that she had talked to Anita, and Anita had said, according to the New York law, there is no limit, that you can have as many votes as you want. So I did look in the New York law, and I don't see where it is stated that there's 2 votes. So I would ask Shelley, Cindy, whoever, to please confirm this, because if we're supposed to be following New York law, and I want to make sure that that is the case.
Okay,
We
Cindy?
we can definitely check into that. That line is from the current constitution. So that's just been a CFA rule. If we wanted to change it, now would probably be the time. I'm not sure how that would work in terms of an actual in-person annual where people need to raise their hands to vote, because not too many of us have more than 2. But it's certainly something that we could consider if that's what the board would like.
Well, I just thought that we're supposed to, that we're supposed to be following New York law. So I thought that that would be something that we should check into, because if that's the New York law, then we should be following it. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, Pam, I think that Anita addressed that. I don't remember what the response was, but maybe Rachel or Shelley, their hands are up. I'll recognize them and they might remember.
Okay.
Rachel, go ahead.
Thank you. My recollection was that New York law allowed more than 2, but that doesn't mean we are forced to give delegates more than 2. I think it would be very unwieldy if one delegate voted more than twice. As Cindy pointed out, how are we going to do it? You're going to raise your hand and feet, so if there's 4 votes. So I wouldn't support a change in that myself, but I don't think New York law requires us to allow that delegates have more than 2.
Shelley? You're muted, Shelley.
So my understanding is, and I agree with everything Rachel said, but the point of this is that we want to comply with New York law where we have to, where there is New York law, but we are given a lot of discretion within our constitution to run our business, our CFA business, the way we want. And so the way the CFA has done it is the 2 votes. That doesn't mean that you can't expand that to 3 or someone can't carry more. But we have to comply with New York law when New York law has a law in effect. Where New York law is silent, then we can choose to create our own, which is what we've done, which is what the CFA Constitution has done.
Okay, thank you. Pam Mosier,
Yes.
do you want to respond?
No, I mean, she's giving, again, I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to state, what New York law, if that's New York law, I just don't understand why we're not following it. That's all.
We are following it.
I think we can be more restrictive, but we can't be less restrictive. Is that appropriately said, Shelley?
I would actually say that where New York law has a law, we have to follow it. They don't have a law that requires how many votes a person can bring. So we can choose that. So we within the context of New York law, we get to make certain decisions about what to put in our constitution. Other things are mandatory. That would not fall in the voting number per delegate does not fall into the mandatory requirement.
Okay. Thank you, Shelley. Okay, any other debate? Pam Mosier, your hand's up.
Yeah, I have another question.
Okay.
On Article 7, I see that it, under executive board meeting and voting. Just a question, you've added or committee. It says any one or more members of the board or committee. And then it says each individual may participate, including proposing, objecting, and voting. Does that mean that if you're on a committee that they can vote? I mean, I'm just trying to get clarification, please.
Cindy?
I'm just reviewing that.
Okay, you know where I'm talking about,
Yes,
Cindy?
I do. B,
Okay, thank you.
section 3B,
What
Yes.
page is that? On the-
24.
No, not on here. Okay.
Here's how I think. When we have our reports by committees and we have people other than board members make those reports, I believe that's what this is allowing. I could be wrong because I'm doing it on the spot and I usually require a little time to think.
Okay, so I guess my main thing is, so they're allowed to vote on it now? That's my question.
This just has to do with attending the meeting.
It doesn't have to do with voting on things.
I don't see that.
Well, it says in there voting. Participation by such means shall consist presence in person at a meeting. And then I can't read because my printer doesn't do well there, but it just basically says that each individual may participate, including proposing, objecting, and voting.
I must be on a different section. I'm on section 3, subsection B, which is under quorum.
No, that's right. No, that's right, Cindy. You're in the right place. It's just if you read the whole B paragraph all the way through.
So can we find it so that we can put it up on the screen?
Yeah,
Keep going far. I'll tell you. Keep going. Aline. It's down in the body of the Constitution. Now, keep scrolling. Section or Article 7.
Yes, Article 7. You got a long ways to go.
Article 7, Section 3. Keep going.
Yep.
There's 5.
Dear. There. Okay. So Article 7, Section
3.
Which
quorum,
Section 3. Okay.
quorum,
And B.
and subsection B.
Yeah, right there.
Here we
You
are.
got it.
So it's in the pink wording,
Mm-hmm.
right near the end of that, but not limited to proposing, objecting to, and voting upon specific actions. Okay, this is my interpretation. Hopefully Shelley's reading it well. This section here is about attending meetings, what a quorum is, and this particular subsection B allows us to have telephonic or video meetings so long as, and that's the part that this last pink section is talking about, that people have the ability to fully participate in the meeting by proposing, objecting, voting would be if they're allowed to vote. That applies to the meeting has to be conducted in a way that everyone can hear and see and participate within their duties.
So Cindy, isn't that right out of Robert's rules?
That I would not know, but anytime you're in a meeting, you have to have the ability to fully participate if you're a member of that meeting.
Whether it's in Robert's rules or not, it's in New York law that to be a legal virtual meeting, the parties have to be able to see and hear each other and participate in the manner described there. So this isn't out of Robert's rules. Robert's rules may duplicate it, but this is from New York law.
Yeah, well, it is duplicated in Robert's rules. I know that.
But I would say if you're worried about voting, that's down below in section 5.
I think that's a valid question, Pam. I just think the whole section, that whole section B refers to how meetings are to be conducted so that people can fully participate.
And so what you're saying, so that would basically be like if we were at the annual in a meeting like that?
At the annual or even a Zoom meeting where we have Ellen comes in and presents her committee report. We have other people who come in and they present their report. They have to be able to attend the meeting and be seen and heard and be able to fully participate. Certainly, I think we could, Shelley, correct me if I'm wrong, we could take out or committee, but I think we want our committee people to be able to participate in our meetings.
Am I recognized, Daryl?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that Pam's critique is well taken. I think it's confusing that you name that the board and the committees can participate, and then you define participation as including voting. I just think that it's confusing. I think that further section 5 does define voting, but I think that you should have a separate section where you say that committees can participate in board meetings. That's all you need. So if you take committee back out of section B, because having the committee participate in a board meeting has nothing to do with the quorum. I think that you might just have somewhere else that says the board upon invitation can request committee members to participate. Then you've achieved what you want, but you haven't diluted this paragraph to give committee members roles that they don't or shouldn't have.
We can do that.
Okay, Cindy, you want to make an amendment to this?
Let's add a sentence. No, we don't want it there.
Do you want to
would have
strike?
to-
You want
I
to
would have
start by striking
just-
out or committee?
Let's just strike committee
Okay,
or committee.
Rachel second.
okay. So we're not making any other changes. I mean, you know, by tradition, we've always allowed the chairs to address the board. They don't have any voting rights. They never have in the past. But they do give valuable input. That's why we have committee chairs, so they can give advice to the board. Shelley?
I don't know that the board, you even need to have the right to invite a committee in your constitution. So just striking or committee is probably all you need to do.
Okay. All right. So we have an amendment, and that's to strike or committee, made by Cindy, seconded by Rich. George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just wanted to concur in what Shelley said. You know, we can have our own operational procedures for what we do with our committees. That doesn't necessarily have to be ensconced in the Constitution. So simply taking out or the committees covers it. We
Okay.
can still choose to invite them if that's our practice.
Okay. Thank you, George. Any other comments? Okay. Is there any objection to the amendment? Hearing no objection. I'm
Daryl,
sorry.
I'm trying to raise my hand. Could you restate the section and the article, and the section and the subparagraph this is coming out of?
Yeah, Eileen, scroll toward the beginning a little bit. Okay, it's
Okay.
under Article 7, Section
7.
3,
There
quorum,
you go.
B.
B.
Yeah,
Subsection
now
B.
slide back up. Are you there, Pam? You see it?
Got it. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right. Okay. So no further discussion. Is there any objection to the amendment? And that is to strike out or committee from Article 7, Section 3B. Okay, hearing no objection, the amendment is ratified. Okay. Does that help you out, Pam Mosier?
Sure does. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, we got that covered. Any other questions on the proposal here? Everybody's fine with all the other changes that we need to make to our constitution? Okay. Are you ready for the question? All right, I'm going to call a vote on this since this is important. Okay. So all those in favor of
Wait, I
the,
have a question. I'm sorry, Darrell, I have a question.
okay, go ahead.
So are we voting on that we're going to accept this the way that, that it's written now? Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
Do you have another concern? That's why I'm asking for a debate.
Well, I don't know if, to me, I don't know. I just seem like it's a little bit rushed, but it could be just me, okay?
Okay. Well, I mean, this was pre-noticed. Everybody had a chance to go over it. You've worked on the committee when this all got started. So,
It is virtually the same as what you saw last month. There have been some very minor changes.
okay. Thank you, Cindy. Rachel Langer, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just clarifying, this is, we're not adopting these. What we are adopting are, is this as a proposal to send to the delegates. Is that correct? Everybody's correct on that. Okay,
That's correct.
all right.
Okay.
Yes, this is actually amendments being sponsored by the board of directors so that CFA, which now is not in compliance with New York not-for-profit corporate law, so that we become compliant with the not-for-profit corporate law of New York. Now, Cindy, is the articles of incorporation included in this, or do we have a separate?
That's the next action item.
Okay, good deal. Okay. All right. So let's vote on this. Everybody in favor of this proposal to be sent to the delegate for ratification, please raise your hand. Okay,
You know,
so
it's not to raise my hand, so I am voting yes.
okay, all right. So we'll start with Brian Mosier, and then we have Melanie Morgan, Rich Maston, Carol Krasnowski, Rachel Anger, Cindy Bird, Sharon Roy, Kenny Curley, Howard Webster, George Eigenhauser, Kathy Dunham, Pam Delabar, Hayata San, John Kalila, Kathy Calhoun, and Brian, your hand's up again. So you only get one vote though.
I know.
Okay, any take your hands down, please, everyone. And do we have any votes? If you're a no vote, raise your hand. Okay, Steve McCullough is a no. Pam Mosier is a no. Okay, any abstentions? Yeah, see no abstentions. So Rachel, you can announce a vote when you have them calculated.
We have 15 yes votes, 2 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, so the motion is ratified. So the delegates can start reviewing this and hopefully get ratification of this so that we're in compliance we're compliant with New York not-for-profit corporate law. Okay, Cindy, next item.
The next item is our restated certificate of incorporation, which is the same as what you saw last month. I'm having trouble with my pages. It's way up, Aline, way up. What you see
There it
is what we hope to present to the delegates for their approval. It's a super simple thing. If you go down a little bit farther, Aline, this section just describes everything that has to come before the actual restatement. And then this piece that's coming up now is the actual restatement from the changes from our original certificate of incorporation. So the first one is the name of the corporation. The second is the purpose of the corporation. The third is the office, which we found from Anita that we can use our actual office, so that's nice.
Okay,
And the fourth is the address to which the Secretary of State will send copies of processes. The fifth is our registered agent, which is right now Paracorp. We're hoping to find somebody possibly different, but that section can be changed whenever needed. Hopefully we'll find something, an office that we really do like before this goes out to the delegates, and then that would change. And then the signature line, that's it.
okay. Quite amazing, isn't it, that this hasn't been updated since 1919?
It has actually, there's been two
Okay.
updates. One was to add Paracorp, and I can't remember the other one, which was back in 1954.
Okay,
I think that one changed the number of directors on the board from 7 to 14.
okay,
Rich will second the motion.
okay. So Cindy's made the motion to accept our updated articles of incorporation to be presented to the delegation, and Rich has seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Steve, you're recognized.
Do you have any idea of why Anita would say we don't have to be incorporated in New York or have a physical presence in the counties of New York to be incorporated there?
The registered agent is, we have to have a registered agent in every state that we do business in. And that Paracorp serves as that. We do not have to have an office in New York. We just have to follow New York law because that's where incorporation is.
Well, everything I've dug up and everything my attorney dug up says we do have to have a corporate presence in a county of New York. And it's in the State Department's application that requires it as well. I was just wondering how we got around that.
Probably because we have a registered agent that has an office in the state.
That's also on here as well. You have to have one of those as well. It's not either or, it's in addition to.
We can certainly recheck that, but between our last meeting and this meeting, Anita informed us that we can use our Ohio address.
Okay, it's the sixth paragraph of the application that says that the office of incorporation has to be located in the county blank, state of New York. Then it says name the address of your process servers. So I'm good if she's got something to back it up with.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Delabar, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think a lot of the law has to do goes back to the original filing of the Articles of Incorporation, which took place in 1919, if I remember correctly. What we're doing now is a revision thereof to to get us away from just doing business in North America and the updates. But all that other stuff, Steve, I think is back to the beginning when the original filing took place.
Okay, anyone else? I don't see any. Okay, Pam Delabar. Oh, no. Okay, so seeing no further discussion, we'll call a vote. So if you're in favor of the amended articles of incorporation to be presented to the delegation for ratification, please raise your hands. Okay, so all right. The yes votes are Melanie Morgan, Rich Maston, Howard Webster, Brian Mosier, Carol Krasnowski, George Eigenhauser, Sharon Roy, Kathy Calhoun, Pam Mosier, Hayata-san, Cindy Bird, Kathy Dunham, Pam Delabar, Kenny Curley, Rachel Anger, John Kalila, and Steve McCullough. You'll take your hands down. I'll call for the no votes. Okay, any abstentions? Okay, no votes, no abstentions. Rachel, you can announce a vote when you have them tabulated.
That was unanimous with 17 yes votes, 0 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you very much. Cindy, the motion's ratified.
you all.
Cindy, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, so let's take up the delegate fee discussion next. So Melanie, you put a thing out today, so I'll recognize you.
Thank you very much. I apologize for the lack of video. My computer seems to have a mind of its own, and it just keeps clicking on and off. So as I show up and out, that's what's going on.
Okay.
But yeah, I wanted to bring up the matter of the delegate fee for this year's annual in light of the fact that the annual will be a virtual event. The notice for the delegate registration, as you all well know, went out this morning. And I don't know about you guys, but my phone and email started going crazy as a result. People just aren't understanding why we would charge a full $40 fee when the in-person meeting has been canceled. I understand that the delegate fee is specified by and regulated in our Constitution. I'm not sure that all of our club members do. But I do contend that just because it's specified in our Constitution, that it doesn't mean that we can't apply some common sense somewhere. There are a couple options, in my opinion. First and foremost, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, that New York state law has provided us with some leeway for emergency measures, given the fact we're in the midst of a global pandemic. It seems to me that would easily, this whole delegate fee situation would easily fall in that category. Although certainly I'll cede to the opinion of Shelley as our legal counsel. If that's not an option, then we can surely come up with something else. For example, we can charge a delegate fee as per the Constitution and then provide a credit of $40 or whatever amount we determine makes sense for the 2022 dues of any club who seats a delegate at the 2021 virtual meeting. So that's one solution. I'm sure there are others. But really it gets down to why are we talking about this? And the bottom line is we want delegates at this meeting. Getting people to sign up for hours on the computer is going to be hard enough. Getting a quorum is going to be hard enough. Asking them to pay $40 for the privilege when they get none of the trappings that normally go with the experience of an annual puts a barrier to entry in place that I fear will alienate a vast number of people who are an integral part of CFA, and that's not what we want to do. This really is such a delicate time, and I think it's important to make it abundantly clear to all of the people out there that we understand the hardships that our clubs and exhibitors are facing. We value their input. There are people out there who have lost their jobs, and $40 may not sound like a lot to some people, but to others, you know, that's the difference between getting their cat to the vet or not. So we need to bend over backwards to be inclusive. The $40 price point is just not realistic in this current situation, in my opinion. I'm almost done here, but in closing, I'd like to read really quickly one of the many messages that I received today. And it says, to whom it may concern, it's my understanding that CFA plans on charging the delegates to the 2021 virtual meeting a $40 fee. I strongly suggest that special circumstances be invoked to reduce that fee. Certainly there are some expenses involved in setting up the virtual meeting, but many more expenses won't occur this year. The majority of delegates pay most, if not all, of their fees to attend. For this, they have the honor of representing their clubs. They have access to programs and workshops, receptions, informal small group discussions, breed council activities, and the business meeting itself. They also get a swell delegate bag. This year, what will the delegates or clubs receive for the delegate fee? It seems limited to access to listen in on a Zoom meeting where one's ability to speak to the group will be questionable. There is no chance to informally meet and discuss proposals, no chance to meet with others working on your breed or discuss finer points of putting on a show or to socialize or network, no access to vendors, no delegate bag. As someone who's represented 2 clubs each year for close to 20 years, I doubt I'm going to shell out $80 I really need to spend on other things just to listen in. I doubt that CFA will have a quorum, so there will be little point in this whole exercise. I respectfully suggest that the expenses of presenting the business meeting as a virtual experience and not all the regular expenses of said meeting be calculated and a more reasonable delegate fee be suggested to cover those costs. Sorry to go on so long, but I just figured it was a good start. And you can argue this either way, but I think it's important to listen to certainly how a vast number of people seem to feel, at least based off the number of phone calls and emails that I received today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sharon Roy, you're recognized.
Well, actually, Melanie said pretty much everything that I was going to say. But we're going to invite these people to a virtual meeting. We have no idea, other than the constitutional change, whether they'll even have anything to vote on. So I do think we need to consider giving the clubs who send a delegate something back.
Okay, Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
If we have 400 delegates, and I'm saying that's usually a fairly safe number to go back on when historically, that only is $16,000. That's not a lot of money to carry on what we're going to be trying to accomplish by holding this virtual meeting. It's not going to be the nifty $189 Zoom meeting program that we all pretty much are using anyway. This is going to be well expanded. The Constitution dictates that does not give us the chance to give a lower fee. I think we need to bring this up at our first meeting after the annual when we know what the expenses are going to be. But as of attending, if you a delegate, I'm sorry, I don't feel that $40 is too much for me to have to spend on behalf of Sophisticat Club in order to have a say in the dealings of the business of this organization, which we all seem to be vested in. If you're vested in the organization, then somehow you're going to come up with $40 to do it.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. I see my fellow annual committee member has his hand raised also, and I'm sure he's going to say everything what I'm going to say, only much more eloquently. So I just want to state, I am glad that some board members have received some input. I received no phone calls, no emails. So, I don't know if this is one person talking to Melanie or what the situation is. I do understand that person's concern, but I think George is now going to say the opposite side of that issue.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. George, you're recognized.
Gee, no pressure at all. Let me start by saying I agree with everything Pam Delabar and Rachel Anger said. Look, normally a delegate would spend hundreds of dollars to fly out, hundreds of dollars to stay at what is usually a higher end hotel than a lot of us go to for cat shows, because places with big enough facilities tend to be a bit expensive. Meals are a little bit expensive there, et cetera, et cetera. I really think this is first world problems when we say we can't afford to spend $40 to go to an event that we normally spend $1,000 to go to. I think that's really an odd sense of economy. Yes, the Constitution sets our delegate fee. We can't change that. But on the other hand, once CFA has money in the treasury, we can do whatever we want with it. So I agree that what we ought to do is that our first meeting after the annual, probably Sunday morning after the annual, we ought to sit down and look and see how we did. We're going to have some expenses for the annual. We know some of those are coming up in closed session. There'll be other expenses for things like having staff. And the plan right now is to have some of our key people actually physically together so they can assist each other at central office. So there'll be some airfares, there'll be some hotels. I would be surprised if we didn't spend all of the delegate fees, maybe even twice over, before we're done with this. So let's take a look. Let's see how it works out. Let's follow the Constitution for now. But when we know how we do financially at the annual, then we can sit down and figure out ways to rebate this to the clubs. And there are a lot of different ways to do it. Somebody talked about just giving a check back to the clubs that sent delegates. Another possibility is to really use it to subsidize the show producing clubs, because as they're coming back online, they're going to be facing a lot of headwind, not only because of lingering effects of the COVID, but just change in people's lifestyles and attitudes during the pandemic. It may take us years to get back to normal. Why not devote some of the money that we save on the annual to helping the clubs? But I don't think we need to look for ways to violate the Constitution to do it. Let's save this till later and deal with it when we have a better sense of what the actual cost of the annual is going to be.
George, did you want to comment on the quorum issue?
My personal feeling is that we're going to have a better shot at getting a quorum than we ever had before. I know clubs that haven't sent delegates in years and basically proxy out their delegates because they can't afford to travel. A lot of people can't afford to travel. We don't all have, airline miles to get us to the annual. This is the cheapest annual in history. I mean, instead of spending thousands of dollars to get to the annual, you're going to be able to participate for $40. That's going to make this a much broader annual than it has ever been before. There are people in the far-flung corners of CFA that maybe didn't have the opportunity to attend that will have the opportunity to attend this year. So I don't foresee any problem with a quorum. I think this is going to be one of our best attended annuals in a long time.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just have 2 points, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail around the financials at this point in time. But I can tell you right now, from what we know right today, we are negative on this event from a financial perspective. So we know that, and there'll probably be additional costs that we haven't even taken into consideration. But the other thing that I don't know that people know at this point in time, and maybe we can do a little sales job on this event, because I don't know if people understand that everything that they could experience except being next to people and a delegate bag, we are going to deliver to their home. They would be able to vote. They would be able to speak. They will be able to see all of the meeting in the comfort of their own home. So that's a different, spin on this, because, and to what George said, in normal circumstances, that would cost you upwards toward $1,000 between your airfare and your hotel and your food and all this stuff. I don't want to restate what's already been said. But as far as some of the other trappings, that is not available in a pandemic. And the $40 is never expected to give you the rest of that. Not ever expected to give you a banquet or the camaraderie, or it's a business meeting. So, there's a lot of people working really hard to deliver that business meeting as effectively and inclusively as possible in the comfort of a person's home, and even more important than the comfort of someone's home, the safety of someone's home in the middle of a pandemic.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you. Aren't we going to have to go out to some outside company in order to even do this meeting because of all the logistics, or am I incorrect on that?
Eileen, would you like to address that?
The virtual annual committee has been meeting, and we believe that we have a solution. We will be meeting next Monday night and have a report for the next board meeting on the 16th. But it's a good group of people. We've got a lot of different viewpoints and different experiences, and we think that we're going to be able to do this without using an outside firm. We did look at some outside firms. They basically use the Zoom platform, the same platform we're going to be using and that we have been using.
Okay, so that will be brought up at our next board meeting on how that's going to be carried out?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Melanie, back to you.
Thank you. Clearly, I know where this is going. However, I'd like to make a motion to provide a $30 rebate on club dues in 2022 to any club that seats a delegate at the 2021 season.
Okay, need a second?
Dave will second.
Okay, thank you. So the motion is to charge the fee and refund $30. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we've discussed this pretty much. Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Is this a 2/3 vote or a simple majority, please?
2/3.
Thank you.
It's not pre-noticed. Rich?
Yeah, I will vote against this, not in support of it. in waiting to review the financial position after the annual is over, and then maybe this is something we consider on Sunday after the annual meeting.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Daryl,
Yep.
this is Aline.
Yep.
I think the amount for dues is also in the Constitution. I'm not sure that that makes any difference on this, but I believe it is outlined in the Constitution.
Okay.
The club insurance is not. So it's technicality.
Can we change it to club from the a discount on club insurance? Just to cover ourselves? Steve, will you
No.
second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's a $30 reduction in club insurance.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Anyone object to that change? I'm not gonna make an amendment because we're gonna vote on it anyway. So Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't object to the change, but the original motion was a rebate on the dues, not a reduction in the dues, is my understanding. Therefore, I'm still going to not support this motion until after the annual, so we can vet through the annual financials.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Okay, so the motion by Melanie and seconded by Steve is to charge the $40 constitutional requirement of a $40 delegate fee, and afterwards a $30 rebate on club insurance. Is that correct, Melanie? Go
Correct,
ahead.
for any club that seated a delegate in the 2021 virtual meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you for specifying. Okay, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, so Daryl, what you said and what Melanie motioned is different. My understanding of what Melanie's motion was a reduction in the club insurance, and I believe you stated a rebate. So,
Okay, all right. Well,
okay.
I mean, a reduction or a rebate, I mean, that's sort of semantics. We're going to get $30 back of the $40 fee.
I'm fine with it as stated.
Okay, I mean, you can call it what you want, but we're given, the motion is to give them $30 of the $40 back to be applied to club insurance. Is that correct, Melanie? And you okay with that, Rich?
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's call them.
Just so you know, I'm still not going to support it. But
Okay,
yes,
all right.
yeah.
Okay,
Just
all
wanted
right.
to be
All
clear.
those. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, so the yes votes are Melanie Morgan, Sharon Roy, Brian Mosher, Steve McCullough, Hayata San, and John Kalila. Okay, if you will take your hands down. Those opposed, raise your hand, please. Okay, so the no votes are Rich Maston, Howard Webster, George Eigenhauser, Kathy Dunham, Pam Delabar, Kathy Calhoun, Kenny Curley, Cindy Bird, Carol Krasnowski, and Rachel Anger. All right, if you'll take your hands down, are there any abstentions? Abstentions are Kenny Curley and Pam Mosier. Okay, Rachel, you can announce the vote.
Rachel, I was a no.
Okay, that's what I had. So 6. Okay, we have 6 yes votes, 10 no votes, 1 abstention.
Okay, so the motion is not agreed to. Okay, Melanie, anything else?
That's it for me. Thank you, though,
Okay,
for
thank you.
indulging me.
Okay, so we'll move on to the club exhibitor survey, and that's Melanie Morgan and Kathy Calhoun, and whoever raises their hand first can start out. And Aline, if you can put that up on the share screen. All right. So we got 2 versions here, the club version and the exhibitor version. Is that correct, Melanie and Kathy?
Correct. I wasn't sure when you asked for this, Daryl, who we wanted to send it to. So I put two things out there. We can use one or both.
No,
I'm fine.
I'm okay with both. You know, and I know people were bringing. I wanted to be proactive this up ahead of time because we got to make a decision because the show season and our current policy expires at the end of April. So we need some input, and I'm happy for the clubs, but I for sure want the exhibitors to have an input. So why don't we start with the club survey first, and then we'll move on to the exhibitor survey.
Okay,
Okay.
one of the suggestions we received was from Rich, and he thought that we should break out the international division.
Okay.
My question back is I'm not sure what relevant information that's going to give us, just in terms of breaking it out. We certainly can. It just makes it that much longer, and I'm not, so that's something to throw open to the board and see. We can do that if you would like.
Okay, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, so Melanie, I was looking at number one and noticed that you had all the regions broken out. I didn't know if that was for the purpose of identifying how many clubs planned on having a show during the show season. And if that was the case, I thought it might be a good idea to break out the international division so that we can see specifically what China was planning. That's all that purpose was. And then I had one more question or suggestion, if and when you're ready to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Aline, can you scroll up, please? Up, I'm sorry, all the way to the top. The title indicates and regional win titles. Isn't this for national win titles?
It is. That's just a carryover, so we need to change that.
Okay, that's all I was referring to in the email.
That makes more sense. Yep, changed. Yep.
It was confusing when I read it originally.
Understood.
Thank you.
So how about breed wins? Where are we on that?
Well, I considered national wins. Breed wins are national wins to me. I mean, we can certainly define that if we want, but.
Well, we aren't giving them currently. Is that correct? That's my
Right.
understanding. So maybe we should put national/BW.
Okay, so national/breed wins titles. Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, good change.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We got George Eigenhauser. You're recognized.
Okay, first, I agree with Rich that China is a big enough market that we ought to survey them separate from the rest of the ID. So I don't think it's all that complicated to have ID China, ID other. I would like to know what the people in China think. The other thing I would like to change is on question number 4. Some clubs may not know the answer to whether their members are going to go to shows or not. So I would put yes, no, and maybe, or yes, no, and unknown to give the clubs
Got
an
it.
option.
Okay,
That's all.
good
Okay.
one. All right.
All right. So you want to put yes, no, or undecided?
Undecided or maybe, what do you think?
Unknown.
Huh?
I would put unknown.
Unknown. Okay.
I liked unknowns because clubs may
Me
not be
too.
mind readers.
Okay.
I
All
like
right.
that. Okay.
Okay. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Yeah, I was just gonna, actually, George pretty much said what I was gonna say about the international division, because initially when that came up, I, kind of, in our past surveys, we always done this delineation. But, you having another level of detail never hurts.
Yep.
I'm fine.
Done. Yep. Okay, anything else?
Okay. So do you want to add K as an international division -China?
Well, I made J International China and I made K ID other on my changes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Aline, can you pop in there and update that?
And I'm making the changes as we go so I can forward these to her. when we're done.
Okay. Okay, does any, let's see, Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I
Yep.
guess I don't understand why we're even doing this. Because first of all, I mean, when COVID was a lot worse, we were, I mean, people still wanted to have national wins. So by sending this out, I mean, that's fine to get it, but everybody's gonna want national wins. So I don't know why we're even having the discussion. I just think we should have national wins and regional wins for next year. And I don't even think it needs to be sent out a survey, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, but then I think you need to go to the Facebook page for the unofficial CFA list. There's a very, very, very wide opinion about whether we should go back to this. And I didn't look today, but the last time I looked, it was 2-1 not to have national wins.
Really?
Yes.
Like I said, I don't usually look at Facebook because, as George says.
I know, but somebody can somebody take a quick look to see what the Lorna's poll is showing right now?
Yeah, I would be shocked that people are saying that they don't want to have national wins. That's just, I'm shocked.
Yeah, did somebody look?
Yeah, it is 2-1.
Okay. All right. Pam, anything else?
No.
Okay, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, the point is there are different opinions out there. Some people have the feeling that everybody wants national wins. Where I'm from, nobody thinks we're going to be back to normal until 2022. So rather than speculate from what we've heard or from a little snippet or from some poll that somebody else produced, the CFA board ought to communicate with our clubs and exhibitors directly and ask them what they want rather than just assuming.
I agree with you 100%, George. Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl. This is a small request. Eileen, can you scroll to the bottom of the page, please? Okay, this was a recommendation by George earlier in the week on documents when we were having some email exchanges back and forth, and I liked his recommendation. I think we should put a date code on the bottom of this so we know for history purposes when we actually release this document, especially due to the changes with COVID that are happening extremely rapidly around the world.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you. Steve McCullough, you're recognized.
Starting March the 10th, Texas will have no restrictions.
Yep.
The governor lifted them all today. No mask mandates, no 6-foot distancing, nothing. It's all wide open.
Yep.
So policy will be March 10th in Texas.
Yep. I did a little research on states that require mask mandates. There are 35 states, and that includes Texas because they haven't lifted the restriction until the 10th of March. But there will be 34 states that have that have a restriction. Those that don't have a restriction, some cities within the state do. So
yes,
just so you keep that in the back of your mind, everybody. Melanie, you're recognized.
Thank you. I would like to get the board's opinion on question number 5 and just make sure that we're comfortable and we understand what we're asking there. I want to make sure it's not confusing. The one that says, should CFA offer national win awards for the 2021-22 season? Yes, by traditional rules, which would include our existing minimums, but I'm not sure that's clear there. No. And then yes, with special conditions, i.e. reduced point minimums, which would change what a national win means to some extent. Is that confusing? Does everyone understand it? Would we like a rephrase?
Pam Delabar.
Mine was on something else.
Okay, well, let's hang on then. Rich, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, Melanie brings up a good point. However, I think we need to be careful if we're going to identify existing point minimums because we don't even know what those are yet. The board needs to make that decision coming up. I don't either at the next meeting or the April board meeting. I forget which meeting we make that decision.
Okay,
So I'm not trying to complicate it. I'm just bringing it up. Should we keep it to just yes or no and maybe keep it simpler? You know what I'm saying?
anybody have an opinion on that? Strike out the yes with special conditions. Carol,
Yes, I think we should strike that out and just have a simple yes and no.
okay,
If the majority decide they want the national awards, then we would have to determine as a board later on, based on conditions, what we want to establish as the minimum points.
okay, so Aline, you want to strike out the yes with special conditions? No, no, leave that in. It was in the next part. Just strike out the whole thing, even the yes.
Yeah, I'm much more, I think that
There
just
you-
keeps it simpler.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's see.
Thank
Uh-huh. Okay, anybody else? Okay, do we want to vote on this one first? So Melanie, you want to make the motion to accept this since we've altered it?
So moved,
Rich?
as amended.
Rich will second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We've changed it. So is there any objection to the changed? This is the club version of the survey for national wins for the next show season. Okay,
Daryl?
Yes.
Aline, the way we will distribute this to the clubs will be the same way we do balloting and everything else. There'll be
Okay.
a personalized link that we'll send
Okay.
to the clubs. They can vote online.
okay, cool. That will really save a lot. So so everybody keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, so is there any objection to the club version of the survey? Okay, hearing no objection, as amended and changed, it's ratified by unanimous consent. So let's move on to the exhibitor version. And we need to change regional at the top and make it.
National / breed.
Yeah. Okay, Carol Krasnowski, you're recognized.
Yes, and again, in question number 5, we have to delete that line, yes, with special conditions.
Okay, all right, let's take that out. We need them pretty much the same.
Yes.
And we had one where we added maybe.
Unknown.
Yeah, okay. So Alan, yeah, strike that one out. There we go. And
I'm not sure which one should be maybe,
yeah,
because we
took-
did that or unknown.
that was sort of club specific,
Yeah,
I
with club
believe.
members.
That's
Yeah,
not good.
that was club members. So
Mhm.
Approved, yeah.
all right. So can you slide up so we can see the club version again? Make sure we're pretty much on track with the same thing. Okay, all right, good. I just wanted to check because we have that breed winner awards, which
What-
we don't give, and that would be sort of the jump step to go to national wins. So, all right, so slide back down now, Aline, to the.
Okay. As far as a deadline, do we want this information prior to the April board meeting?
Yes, I
Okay.
think that would be helpful because we're going to have to make that decision at the board meeting in April.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll need to go in where the X's are when it has to be returned, whatever your
Yes.
return date is. Okay, so
Mhm.
you'll need to add that in.
Do we need to add the date at the end?
Yep.
That's
that
what I'm
needs to-
trying to do.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
formatting is weird in this.
Okay.
I'm not gonna, it's not pretty, but the information will be there.
Yeah. Okay, Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, this is a small thing. Up on the title of the exhibitor survey, do we need the word club in the beginning? It might be confusing. Should it say CFA survey of exhibitors?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
On number 6 on the exhibitor survey, should we specify that we're talking about national breed winner titles?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's taken care of. Steve McCullough, you're recognized.
How will this be sent to exhibitors?
Aline.
How well we could put a post on CFA News. There'll be a link to the website. Again, we'll ask people to take this survey online. I believe
Yep.
that's how we did it last spring.
Yep.
So you
And I
can
think
vote more than once then, correct?
We can monitor that by looking at IP addresses if we choose, but we didn't have an issue last time with duplicate votes.
From the
Okay.
exhibitors?
Correct.
Okay.
so. I think Steve, once the link is created, so that exhibitors can go and answer this, then all the regional directors should put that link on their website to notify everybody in their region. I'll put it on the Next Generation website, and one of us can put it on the unofficial CFA list, and we also have a CFA list Facebook page, and it can be posted there too.
Okay. I was thinking about my household pet breeders up this way that have no idea what CFA.org is, let alone how they're going to vote.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Any other comments on this the exhibitor survey? Okay, Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Is there one for regional wards too, or am I?
Well, we no, because that's what we have currently. We'll just be extending that. Well, what we're doing here is just, do we want to add breed wins and national wins?
Okay.
Well, okay, you might be right. Maybe we should have a motion, have a motion to continue the regional wins, but we can do that in April.
Okay.
So Rachel, will you make sure that that's put on the to-do list, that after whatever we decide about regional and breed wins, we need to make a decision on to extend the regional wins for the next show season. Okay. Howard, you're recognized.
Yes, I have a question about regional wins. Isn't there a qualification that you have to have a regional show in order to have regional wins?
No.
No.
No, okay. I just wondered.
Come to Texas. We'll have lots of shows.
Yep.
Not as many as Region 7.
Challenge
we got some
accepted.
competition going on. There we
Challenge
go.
accepted.
All right. Okay. All right. So Melanie, you want to make or Kathy, one of you want to make a motion to accept
moved.
the
Virtual second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, is there any objection to our sort of cleaned up version of the exhibitor survey? Okay, hearing no objection by unanimous consent, that is approved. Okay. Kathy, do you or Melanie, either one, have anything further?
No.
Okay, so let's go to the
But-
motion.
Before we leave this, Aline asked about when we wanted to have it ready by. What are we going to put as the drop dead date for responding to the survey? I don't think we voted on that.
Well, so I had mentioned that she would insert the date.
But what date are we going to have them insert?
Aline, you have how long will it take you to tabulate this? Is it one of those things where you hit a key and it tabulates it?
Yeah, it's tabulated automatically.
Okay, all right. So you want to give them a week before the April board meeting?
Well, do we have to include the results of the survey pre-noticed as a board report?
Oh, well, there you go. That's,
Yep.
yep.
Okay. So
So Rachel, you want to give us when it needs to be in? She's got everything all laid out.
you're on mute. She can't. So I believe the board meeting is the 6th of April.
7th.
Rachel, can you unmute?
7th, no,
7th.
6th.
Oh, you can't.
April
Okay.
the 6th, Tuesday. Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, April 6th is a Tuesday, isn't it?
No, it's 7th. The 5th is a Sunday.
Maybe I'm not looking at 2021.
April 6th is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the 6th. So it's not the 7th.
No.
No,
It's the 6th.
It's the 6th.
Okay. Maybe, maybe my calendar is showing up as a European calendar instead of a regular calendar.
It's Chakri Day, whatever the hell that is. April 6th.
So I believe the board reports will be due on April the 1st, or no, probably March the 31st.
Yeah, the schedule that went out before said March 31st was the
Okay.
deadline for committee
For
reports.
committee
Okay.
reports. So I
Prob-
would say we'd want the deadline. I'm going to say March 26th, just to give a bit of time.
Okay. All right. So March 26th will be inserted for the due date return for both surveys. Pam, you're recognized.
I forgot to take it down. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So we have one motion that we're going to cover in open session, and this was the second motion that Rachel sent out today, which is the Cat H Art is requesting permission to hold a 6-ring show in the Chapiteau de Fontville, Monaco, in conjunction with Degati de Menuga and the Luth Club Association Feline Mediterranean, October 16th and 17th, 2021. There are no shows scheduled in the Region 9 on that date. The Region 9 director approves this. And Rachel, okay, here we go. There's a motion. I'm sorry, I didn't need to read all of that.
You might have wanted me to read it to get the names right.
Well,
But,
okay, well, all right. I'm sorry, I don't live in France, and I took French
do
when
I.
I was in 3rd grade. So, Pam, you can start the discussion on this.
Well, I'm going to so move that this activity be accepted and approved with.
Carol
And
second.
thank you.
Who was the second?
Carol,
Second.
Carol Kresnowski?
yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a,
Okay, I was going to say, we've had shows in Cannes, and several of us have been to Monaco, but this is the first time that we're going to see CFA activity along with LUF activity in the Principality of Monaco. FIFA has been there before, but it really, truly is a spectacle there.
okay. All right. All right, so we have a motion and a second to grant Cat HR to have the In Conjunction show. Any further discussion? Hearing no hands up. Is there any objection to the motion as stated? Hearing no objection by unanimous consent, the motion is approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have pardon me. Do we have any other items to discuss in open session? I think I've got everything covered here. Anybody else have anything that needs to be brought up in open session? Okay, I see no hands up, so it is 6:19 on the West Coast, 9:19 on the East Coast. The meeting stands adjourned. And please, all board members sign back in under the link for the executive session items. Thank you all very much for your participation, and thank you to all the attendees who were on tonight.